Well, here we are, bright sunny day in the day and age of coronavirus pandemic worldwide, taking the world by storm. Sports are closed: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, tennis, ping pong. Good Lord, what is there to talk about on sports, Blabb? But I've got it for you. Chess! That's right, fans, chess! I did say chess. And I know you're scoffing right now. You're going, oh my God, how is chess a sport? Blah, blah, blah. They just sit there. It's like watching the grass grow, right? Grass grow. Well, I got news for you. Chess is a competitive activity between two people, each trying to destroy the other, each trying to win. And isn't that the core of sports? Think of it as mental sport, mental calisthenics. So I know we got the NFL draft that just happened yesterday and today and tomorrow, etc., etc. I could talk about that, but I got something more pressing in the world of chess I want to tell you about and see what you think. So, back on March 15th, the Chess World Candidates Tournament started. The winner of the Candidates Tournament plays the world champion Magnus Carlsen in December over in the Emirates, Dubai, in December. So let's talk about the Candidates Tournament. What exactly is it? Well, all year long there's chess tours, much like there's tennis tours and tennis events and Grand Slams. In the chess world, they're called the Chess Grand Finale or Grand Final Tour. They got events all over the world. The top players play, and they get scores for those games and ratings. And the top 8 players who did the best in that worldwide tour get to play each other in what's called the Candidates Tour. Like I said, for the right to play Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion from Norway, in December. So let's talk about the Candidates Tour. All set to go, the top 8. However, one player, Teimour Radjabov of Azerbaijan, boy, I'm struggling with those names, I admit it, but they're tough names, but I'm plowing through. He's ranked number 9th in the world, qualified for this tournament. He's got a world ranking of 2765. He talked to Fide, which is the World Chess Organization that runs everything. I said, look, I have concerns about this coronavirus. We're going to be in Russia, away from home. This virus is spreading. What are you doing to make it safe for us? Everything else is closed, and why can't we just postpone this tournament? They said, no, we want to keep it going, and here's why. There's only 8 players. You don't have crowds in the stands, thousands of people. It's 8 players, some referees, some media. That's about it. We'll take every precaution on demand. We'll check temperatures twice a day. We got doctors on call. It's like, what if somebody gets sick? We have this plan, blah, 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 blah. We're going forward with it. And I don't totally blame Fide. I mean, there isn't thousands of people. They are correct in a lot of what they say. But this pandemic is serious business. So they kind of went back and forth, Radjabov and Fide basically said, look, you got to March 6th, man. Either you're playing or you're not. He was stuck in a tough spot. Do I play and risk my health, or do I not? I mean, we should be postponing this thing. He fought for that. So in the end, he decided not to play, which is totally understandable, correct? Well, let's talk about the tournament. Wang Hao, who's from China, Ling Dering from China, Ding is number 3 in the world, like at 28.05. Both were quarantined right before the tournament. Wang Hao was quarantined in Japan. Ling Ding was quarantined in Moscow. So they came there. 8 players are playing. While the tournament's going on, Wang Hao and Alexander Grishchuk from Russia said, this is kind of funky that we're playing because our concentration isn't where it should be. This virus stuff is serious concerns. There's all these distractions, whatever. Well, unfortunately, they played halfway through. The way this Candidates Tournament works, it's 14 games, 2 games against each of the other players over 21 days. They made it through 7 rounds, which is the halfway point. And then Russia kicked in a coronavirus. We're shutting down all air travel in 2 days immediately. No questions asked because of this coronavirus. So the Fide instantly said, tournament over. We're going to postpone the rest of it till later on. Now, the prior agreement was, whatever the results are at the time of the postponement, they would keep those results and carry them forward when they continue. So that's what they did. They stopped it after 7 rounds. They keep the scores, and they continue it at some later date. So now the question becomes, Radjabov was right. This pandemic is striking its ugly head everywhere, and they had to postpone the tournament. So A lot of voices are asking, should he be allowed to re-enter the tournament? I would say that he should be. There's a lot that say he shouldn't be, including some of the players and the world champion. Fabiano Caruana, who's number 2 in the world at like 28.63. Both he and Magnus Carlsen have come out and said, no way should he be re-entered. He didn't want to compete. He wasn't eager. He didn't have that fighting spirit. Don't let him back in. And Caruana, you invoke the name of the great Bobby Fischer, who won the world championship in 72, and he said Fischer would never quit. He would never quit like you did. He'd be eager. No matter what, he'd play. Well, I disagree with both those two. I think they're both wrong. This is not something like your car is broken down or your mom has the flu or something. This is a worldwide pandemic that's killing people at a high rate. Let's talk about Fischer for just a second here. Bobby Fischer in 1972 took on Boris Spassky of Russia. He had never beaten Spassky ever for the world ever, and now they're playing for the world championship. He lost the first game and forfeited the second one. Why? Because he didn't like the playing conditions. He wanted a certain too many people in the audience, too many distractions, blah, blah, blah. He refused to play. They made him forfeit. For game 3, Spassky and Fide said, okay, we can agree to this, and they played in some back room, and the rest is history. Fischer won the world championship. Now I'll go a couple years later to 1974. In 1974, Anatoly Karpov of Russia won the Candidates Tournament and was supposed to play Bobby Fischer. Fischer refused to play unless certain conditions were met. He wanted the rules to be a certain way, certain conditions, certain setup, certain whatever, had all these demands. Fide said no, and Fischer said, I'm not playing. They said either play or we're taking the title from you, stripping you, which is what they eventually did. So Caruana, when he says, oh, Fischer would never quit, he'd blah, blah. Fischer's the most competitive chess player on the planet. He didn't play for a draw. He had that killer instinct and always played to just destroy you and to win. And yet, certain conditions weren't met in world championship matches, and he said, no, I ain't playing. So don't get on Radjabov for saying, hey, man, I'm worried about my health. This virus kills. There's no known cure. There's no vaccine. It's killing people, blah, 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 blah. So here we are, have a dilemma. Half the Candidates Tournament has been done. Some of the other players have spoken out and said, hey, I'm not so sure we should have done this. Others have said, you're a big loser if you didn't play. So what to do going forward? Some players and a lot of people say, no, Radjabov should not be allowed to play. Half the tournament's over. He withdrew, blah, blah, blah. The other side says, wait a second, he's legitimate, and they had to postpone the tournament till later anyway, so he was right. Let's let him back in. So here's a solution, a win-win in my eyes. Let him back in, and here's how you do it. I'm not the creator of this idea, not the first one to think about it, not the first one to say it. Many others have said it, but it sure seems like a win-win to me. Before the second half starts, which is currently an 8-man tournament, put him back in. Now his replacement for the tournament when he withdrew or was forced to withdraw, however you want to call that, was MVL of France, who barely missed out on the Candidates Tournament. He's a worthy competitor. He's a super GM rank, like 2775, whatever. Massine of vachier-lagrave, and I have a French last name, but I don't speak French. I struggle with saying the name, so I'm going to call him MVL. He and Nepo, and I can't say his name either, another super Russian GM, those two were leading the tournament at the halfway point. So here's the solution. Nobody wants to throw MVL out. He's leading, and he's doing well, and he deserves to be in. And nobody wants to start over because they said we agreed to keep the same results. So here's the idea. Have an intermediate round where Radjabov comes back in, and he plays all of the other 8 players and gets caught up, right? And you could have the same conditions. The way it worked in the Candidates Tournament is they play for 3 days, take a break, play for 3 days, take a break. So just do that with him. Get them all caught up, and then you got the results of 9 players for a 9-player tournament, and then you continue as a 9-player tournament for the second half. Win-win. He gets back in, and he deserves to be back in. I mean, he's been practicing for a month, so don't give me this, oh, he's not engaged, doesn't want to do this, blah, blah, not eager. Sure he was. He was training like a madman. And why would he go through what he went through to get there to say, oh, I don't want to play it? That makes no sense. This coronavirus is deadly, man. Face reality. Okay, so that's the idea. 9-player tournament. You have an intermediate round against the other 8 players. They outplay them. Now you got scores for the first half to take into the second half. It's a 9-player tournament. I'll let the chips fall, and the winner takes on Magnus Carlsen, a worthy champion in, I think it's the Emirates, Dubai, in December. All right, Sports Blabb on the beautiful sunny day. I'm social distancing. I got my mask. Take care. Stay safe. Over and out.